Next, we explore the history of development in Ogata Village, located in Midwest Akita Prefecture. Ogata Village is a recently established village, built by reclaiming land from a lake named Hachido Ogata, or Hachido Lagoon. Spanning 12 kilometers east to west, 27 kilometers north to south, with a perimeter of 82 kilometers and stretching across a total area of 220.24 square kilometers. This was the second largest lake in Japan after Lake Biwa, and home to more than 70 species of fish and shellfish. It was a shallow brackish water lake, where seawater and freshwater were mixed, resting in the space between the mainland and Oga Peninsula, and separated from the Sea of Japan by a sandbank. Hachido Ogata stretched out as if it were an ocean of itself. The desire to develop Hachido Ogata into paddy fields seemed to be inspired by its shallow depth. Hachido Ogata also greatly flooded on an annual basis, causing local farmers to suffer. By reclaiming and converting the land to rice paddies, food production could be increased, and the lakefront area could be protected. An initial plan had been formed to reclaim the land, but never came to fruition. Since the Meiji era, other reclamation plans also arose, but none could ever actually be implemented. At last, a reclamation plan for Hachido Ogata resurfaced due to the post-World War II food shortage. In 1954, Professor Janssen and an engineer by the name of Volker visited the site from the Netherlands, a country partly developed using land reclamation under the active reclamation promotion policy of the Japanese government. As a result of the survey conducted by the survey team of the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization in 1955, the usefulness of the reclamation project was recognized both inside and outside the country. Before reclamation, there were more than 3,000 fishermen in Hachido Ogata. These fishermen disapproved of the reclamation because they would lose their fishing ground. However, the prefectural governor, inaugurated in 1955, agreed to a fishery compensation plan, allowing the reclamation project to proceed without further delay. In 1957, the Hachido Ogata reclamation project was finally launched. The plan for construction was to build a 52-kilometer embankment perimeter around the planned central reclamation site, and to then pump out the water from inside. The embankment was very difficult to construct on the soft ground sludge layer. Benefiting from a technical collaboration with the Netherlands, construction on the embankment was able to begin. The 52-kilometer embankment was finally completed in 1963. After the embankment construction is the drainage work. The amount of drainage from the central reclamation site alone reached approximately 700 million tons. Only 300 days after flipping the switch on the 8 large pumps found at the north and south draining stations, the bottom of the lake was finally beginning to appear. After 20 long years and approximately 85.2 billion yen, the once-in-a-century undertaking was completed in 1977, and the bed of Hachido Ogata was reborn into a new 172.39 square kilometer expanse of land. Names for the new expanse of land created by the Hachido Ogata reclamation were collected from across Japan. A name to represent its visionary dreams and strides in progress was selected: Ogata Village. At last, 589 families from all over the country settled into Ogata Village. Settlers had to make a big decision in order to apply to settle into the Hachido reclamation site. Every settler in Ogata Village lived their own story. The settlement exam, having taken place on multiple occasions, had an average acceptance rate of 1 out of every 4.2 people. Various motives for settlement were voiced, such as, I want to do large-scale agriculture. I want to farm rice on land free from cold weather damage. I want to farm rice in an area free from flooding. And I want to farm in a way that my children will want to succeed. For the successful candidates, 1 year of training was required. And during the training period, the trainee settlers left their hometown and lived in groups at the settlement training center. Those settlers who were chosen from candidates all over the country were the pioneers to bear the responsibility of establishing a model for Japanese agricultural management with high production and income levels, and creating a rich and livable modern rural society. Since 1967, settlers have been collected from around the country a total of 5 times to farm and live in the settlement. As a requirement of settlement, they had to leave behind their land and homes, so they must have been very committed when moving in. At first, on the farming side, they tried to plant paddy rice directly by helicopter, but at that time the technology was not yet put to the test and it failed. Then they switched to seeding by hand, but it was very hard to collect enough laborers because of the large scale of the land. A bus was chartered to go around the prefecture to gather people, and I think it was the first major challenge. Another thing is, the soil here is like a heavy sludge, because it used to be the bottom of the lake. Since the soil was so sticky, they struggled a lot with the soil sticking to the machines and tools. As for their practical side of life, in the early years there wasn't anything, even one tree, because they started living on land which was created by lake reclamation. Sometimes kids got lost on their way home because they couldn't see anything through the soil dust on windy days. So I think they struggled a lot, not just in the farm business, but also their daily life in the early days. A variety of facilities were established to keep and manage the newly born expanse of land. The reclaimed land is surrounded by reclaimed embankments, and drainage is mainly carried out via the central trunk drainage channel at the drainage pump stations located north and south. In addition, the tide gate keeps the water level of the regulating pond constant and prevents the ingress of seawater from the Sea of Japan. The tide gate installed in the Funakoshi channel prevents seawater from entering the regulating pond, desalinates the regulating pond used as agricultural water, and manages the regulating pond water level throughout the year by opening the floodgate in the event of a flood. The new land born from the bottom of the lake is rich in amino acids and minerals produced by seafood and seaweed that have been deposited since ancient times, and contains a lot of nutrients necessary for rice to grow. Year after year, as the rice grows strong, showered by sunlight and the sea breeze, every autumn the rice paddies glimmer gold as far as the eye can see. In the large-scale rice farming system that the Ogata village reclamation aimed for, they started rice farming in 8 of the rice paddies, which are 0.0125 square kilometers each in one area, and 4 of them in the other area, so a total of 0.15 square kilometers of rice paddies. In the early days, they tried direct seeding using a helicopter, but it failed due to the unproven technology. About the same time they switched to hand seeding, a rice planting machine was developed, as well as an auto-detachable type combine harvester. By using these machines, they contributed a lot to establish a machinery-integrated rice cultivation system at a large scale. Another thing is, farming villages in Japan had been struggling with crop rotation, but they contributed a lot, especially with the 2-year 3-crop system. That's where they plant paddy rice in the first year, then when harvesting the rice in the autumn, they seed wheat. Then after the winter, at the beginning of July the next year, harvest the wheat, and then seed and harvest soybeans right after. One more thing is direct sales, where you sell what you produce by yourself. Ogata Village is a pioneer in delivering their rice products directly to consumers. I think they pioneered this. In addition, a rich ecosystem was unexpectedly established in Ogata Village. The vast fields, moors, and windbreaks, and the minimal fertilizer usage due to the fertile land, have attracted many creatures to the area. The land has become a paradise for about 200 species of wild birds. Nowadays, the settlement is actively establishing their brand by not only cultivating rice, but also crops such as wheat and bean grains, and vegetables such as melons, pumpkins, and onions, all using minimal chemical fertilizers and pesticides. They aim to realize highly profitable agricultural management. Ogata Village produces 50,000 tons of rice every year, But as domestic rice consumption is declining every year, they are focused on exporting rice and its processed products, such as rice flour pasta, rice flour dumplings, fresh rice malt, rice flour, etc. overseas. This once-a-century government-operated reclamation project took many years and painstaking efforts, but it has succeeded in developing a prosperous and livable town. Since the Meiji era, Japan has taken the first step toward becoming a modern nation, and has made a wide range of modernization efforts to build the basic shape of the country. Utilizing the knowledge and technology learned from foreign countries, Japan has become one of the world's leading economic powers by not just imitating the West, but by modernizing in its own Japanese way. Even in Akita Prefecture, the spirit of the people who have contributed to nation building while confronting many difficulties has been passed down and continues to this day.